72 people lost their lives in the Grenfell fires because of the materials used in that building. The fire originated in somebody's kitchen due to a malfunctioning fridge, and all it took was 15 minutes for that fire to spread across the entire building. Witnesses said that it lit up like a match. It was just instant. The reason this fire spread so rapidly was because of the cladding and materials used on the external part of the building. Now, why is highly flammable cladding being used on such a building like Grenfell? Well, it was cheaper, but we should give them a break because it's not like their intentions were bad, because the money that was saved from using cheap cladding ended up going towards textbooks and educational resources for the children living in Grenfell. But actually no, they just don't want to spend money on poor people. That's why they use this flammable cladding, because it is cheaper and it will save them more money in the long run, even though these 72 people had to lose their lives because of those choices. And you think it might be pointless to talk about this 3 years after the fact, but no, there's actually 300 buildings with the exact same cladding and materials used to build Grenfell in the UK right now. And that doesn't even include the 1700 other buildings with highly flammable materials similar to the materials used on the construction of Grenfell. That's today. That's a fact. That's like 2,000 buildings at risk right now today. The inquiry for Grenfell is still going on to this very day, and yesterday it came out that the main fire engineer who was designated to Grenfell didn't even bother looking at the documents that had this flammable cladding in, and his excuse was nobody told him to. No one specifically asked him to. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube, it's still going on today. But let me get this straight, nobody specifically asked him to do his job. That's his job, he gets paid for that. But the messed up thing is, it's not even fully his fault, because 8 years before Grenfell in 2009 there was another fire that very similar to Grenfell, but it took the lives of 6 people. Regulation states that any apartment building should be safe from a fire for at least 1 hour, giving emergency responses enough time to rescue the people. Not all the flats in this house ended up lasting 1 hour. In fact, one ended up lasting about 40 minutes. This is Catherine, and Catherine unfortunately lost her life whilst she was on the phone to a 999 operator. The operator told her to stay put, remain calm in her fire, and her last words were, "It's getting really hot in here." She unfortunately died on the phone because the flat didn't even last a full hour, even though that's what regulation states, and they couldn't reach her in time. But what makes it even worse is that Catherine and those 5 other people didn't even have to die, because in 1997 there was a similar fire because of cheap cladding and materials used all the way back in 1997. Knowsley Heights, that was an apartment building that caught fire again due to cheap cladding and materials used that proved to be highly flammable. Now, I'm talking about this now because I don't hear enough people talking about this type of thing. Grenfell should never have happened. These people do not have to die, because it's not like it was the first time it's happened. It's happened before and people have just chosen not to take action. From 1997 to 2009, you'd have thought that they would have made all these buildings fireproof, or at least up to standard, at least up to the regulation. Okay, that's kind of weird, but it's the government. They've got a lot to worry about. They've got other issues, you know, starting wars in Iraq and all that good stuff that happened in that time between. But then again in 2009, and then another 8 years after in 2017, you're still gonna let these fires continue and this cheap cladding and material be in the buildings where all these people live? That's kind of messed up, don't you think? But worst of all, it hasn't even been since 1997. We've known about this type of thing from 1973. The Summerland disaster caused 50 deaths due to acrylic sheeting used. So they've known about this kind of hazard since 1973, and they haven't made enough changes to prevent the disaster in 1997, to prevent the disaster in 2009, and to prevent the disaster in 2017. How many people's lives need to be taken before they actually make a change that's going to make a difference? Because the way things are going now, it's not going to be long till another Grenfell happens or another Knowsley Heights happens. They don't want to spend their money making sure that these people are safe, and they don't care is the main thing. They don't care, otherwise they would have done something by 1973, they would have done something in 1997, they would have done something in 2009. It's only till Grenfell where they've started to make change, which they have. They've it's a very expensive change, but that's not good enough. it's just not good enough. Like, oh, they're trying their best. Really? That's something you say to your cousin when he's doing a drawing. You don't say that to the government, the people who run our country and have our lives and our best interests at heart. That's what they're supposed to do. That's how they, you know, become prime minister. That's how they win these elections, having our interest, the people's interest in their campaigns and policies. But we don't see that in reality. They don't care about us, and some people just need to start realizing that now.
There he is! Get him! I'm gonna hold you hostage until you edit all of my videos.
Bro, just buy my Patreon like everybody else does.
I think I got the money for that.
Come on, it's £3 a month.
£3 a month?
Yeah man, £3. You get instant access to how I edit my videos and a little insight and behind the scenes on everything we do here.
Alright bro, no worries. Peace.
Alright, cool. In a bit, bro. See you later.